Muramasa is an ancient symbol of the superior sword-making skills of the Japanese. It is wild and unpredictable, much like its maker.
It's also a pretty cool reverb.
If you want to see me fall on my own sword, then join me for this episode of I Don't Have a Band, right now. Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. Welcome to this episode of I Don't Have a Band. In this episode, we're going to be looking at another plugin from United Plugins. We've seen a bunch on here, and they've been sending me over some really great stuff. I really feel fortunate that I get to see them ahead of launch, so then I can present them to you guys. This time around, we've got a new plugin from a new team. For those of you who haven't heard of United Plugins, they're basically a collection of different development teams that came together to market their plugins under one brand. But we're taking a look at a new team this time around, Muramasa, and their first offering, Morph Verb. Morph Verb looks really interesting because basically it's virtually all different types of reverbs, whether it's types or spaces, and gives you an option to blend two of them on this interesting looking dial, in essence creating a morph between two different types of reverbs. There's a couple other really interesting features built in, one of which is ducking, and I'm really curious to see how that works. And there's some other features as well that make this reverb look really versatile. So as I typically do, we'll jump in, we'll take a look at the plugin and look at the different features, and I'll present some sound samples to give you an idea what the plugin can do. And then in the wrap up, I'll let you know what I think about it. All right, let's jump in and take a look at Morph Verb from United Plugins. Okay, I've got the plugin up, so what I thought I'd do is just cycle through some of the different reverbs. I've got a little loop, just a percussion loop that I'll play, and we'll just cycle through the different types of reverbs. So we'll start right there. Well, they've got all the bases covered there, some really nice reverbs, really just out of the box. You can just dial your own flavor. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention is that you can change the interface from a 2D to a 3D look. I've played with both here, and I kind of like the flat look myself, but you've got some options. So as the name suggests in Morph Verb, the idea is that you can blend two different reverbs together, and I guess basically your options are limited to the order that they appear on the dial. So let's start with a plate, and then we'll blend it with a chamber just to see what kind of effect we can get. So there's the plate. And there's your chamber. And if we bring it in between, we'll increase the wetness just so we can hear the difference. Again, I'll start with the plate. And the chamber. And then I'll bring it back to the middle. So kind of nice. You can kind of get different blends of different types of reverb, so you're not really stuck with just using one. There's additional customizations here. We'll start with the bottom right box here. You've got a width, I guess, a stereo spread, pre-delay, and size, pretty typical functions for a reverb. Got some modulation, saturation, and compression. So I'll play around with those dials and just see what kind of effects we can come up with. Let's try Cathedral, because that'll be a more pronounced reverb. Modulation seems quite subtle. The width setting's nice. So with the saturation and compression, you got to be a little careful with that because you can bring up a lot of the noise floor or whatever you want to call that. And I guess depending on the instrument or the track that you're using this on, you can dial in that compression to sort of fatten it up a little bit. So one thing I'm really interested in looking at is ducking. So according to the documentation, the depth is how much of the reverb that it suppresses, and the time is how long it takes to get to normal. Let me listen to it with my ears so I can hear what it's doing. Okay, so if you put the depth all the way up and time all the way up, you're pretty much killing the reverb. That almost sounds like modulation. I see. So if you time that just right, basically with the ducking feature, you can kind of mask the reverb on the transients. So those transients come through nice and clean and then allow the reverb to come back in afterwards. I guess on a drum track, for example, let's say you're talking about a snare, you really want to hear that whack come in and then the reverb would follow afterward. And so this will give you some kind of control. So the next two features I kind of want to look at together. You've got dampening, where you can dampen the lower high frequencies, but you've also got a high pass and a low pass here. So I'm going to change up my reverbs a little bit. Let's go to a hall and let's play around with these. I really like this. So the high pass and low pass is really cool because you've actually got a graph here, and you can see where the most intense transients are, and if there's anything you want to avoid, you can slip your reverb either below or above those frequencies. That's a really, really nice feature. So with the dampening, it just sounds like it sort of gives you an overall, dampening of the higher low frequencies. But with the low pass and the high pass filters, you can really dial in those frequencies that you're trying to include or remove from the reverb effect. That's a pretty powerful feature. It's a really simple interface. You've got the basic features of a reverb here, but with the added benefit of the high pass and the low pass, I can really see this being useful on a lot of different tracks. Okay, so why don't we take a look at this plugin on a couple of different instruments and just to see how it reacts in different situations. In this acoustic guitar example, I dialed in a nice lush chamber reverb. I then used the high pass and low pass filters to tame the reverb below 200 Hz and above around 5K. In this electric guitar example, pay attention to the modulation. This added a beautiful chorus effect blended into the reverb. typically add one reverb across the whole kit. But this is a great way to demonstrate the ducking feature and low pass and high pass features working together to tame the reverb on the kick drum and cymbals. Well, there you have Morph Verb. What'd you think? I like it. I think it's another really versatile reverb. From where I sit, you can never have enough reverbs. If you're in the market for one, this is definitely worth a look because it's giving you virtually all the different types of reverbs you can think of and throwing in some really other useful features. I mean, one thing about reverbs you have to be careful is you can really mess up your tracks if you're not careful. And a very underappreciated feature are things like a high pass and a low pass that let you clean up that reverb just a little bit. So again, so you're not mucking up your tracks too much because that can easily happen. So I really like that feature. But honestly, don't take my word for it. United Plugins offers free trials on all of their plugins. I'll put a link in the description so you can get a copy of Morph Verb and check it out for yourself. If you do try it, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. If you're new to the channel, I hope I've earned a subscribe. I've got a lot of great videos, a lot revolving around this home studio, acoustic treatment. I've got gear and software reviews. I've got stories, all sorts of different things. So just hit that subscribe button if you want to come along for the ride. If you really want to support this channel, I am on Patreon. Links to all of my information are in the description below. And above all else, I hope I'll see you again in another video. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And please like, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay up to date. Remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. There are a lot of great musical projects you can do by yourself, right from your own home. I hope to see you again next time.